our job has so many moving parts. I liken it to a game of chess. You're playing on a board, and all the pieces on the chessboard, and you've got to control. You've got to move.
A lot of people don't know really all of the rest of it, just the steps to be able to get to the point of putting the builder on site. Like, that's almost the easy part in a way, in that you've got so much in place by the time the builders get on site.
You talk to a builder or developer 30 years ago, they talk about 30 years ago as opposed to today. The amount of compliances are incredible.
I get it that the cities and the municipalities want to make sure that the end user is safe and taken care of, but there's got to be some. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Michael Malak, an experienced project manager working within the construction and property sector in Australia for the past 33 years, and operates a successful boutique PM consultancy business spanning over 20 years. So, Michael, we're gonna talk about a lot of things, I think, because I told you I love this topic in the construction world. But first, thank you for coming on the show. I guess we should thank Max for the introduction, but thank you for taking the time out. I know it's early Tuesday morning for you, so I appreciate you being here.
No, thank you, Jason. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for opening up the mic and letting me talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's hear about you. Let's hear about your life, your background. Kind of what got you to where you are today, and then we'll have a conversation from there.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, what got me here? Well, really, I won't start right at the beginning, but I'll start while I was in high school and my ambitions. My actual ambitions were to be a pilot. I had no ambition at all to be a builder, but as things do change, I evolved into the construction industry. But my first passion was flying and planes, and I loved everything from being a teenager. Seeing planes, being in planes, wanting to be a pilot. Had that, it was the time of Top Gun, if you remember, back then, and there was inspiration in that, and that was my first passion. But following on from not getting into the Air Force, doing a little bit of private flying in my early years. I only did that until I couldn't afford to do that, and that's what stopped. And then I joined the army and also studied. Um, my study was in architectural drafting, so that was something I had probably more of a small passion in drawing and articulating certain things on paper. And that's what got me to the building side as a stepping stone, where I had started um, working with architectural practices, started looking at buildings, buildings, drawing homes, and that sort of inspired more of a passion for the what I call now my property influence and my building and construction influence. So that's where that all started, and that was purely from a side of things where I wanted to make something of myself. I wanted to, you know, I didn't follow or didn't find the path of being a pilot, and I wanted to have something, of a career, and drafting seemed to be something that I could do, enjoy, and it got to a point where, okay, 2 or 3 years into what I was doing, drawing, I used to go on site, and these bits of lines on a plan, I would look up and see them in 3D. And you think, wow, this is amazing. Walk on site and you'll be on the timber planks and the Rio on the floor, and this is where that little corner is, and that's where, and you look up and you're, 6 stories in the air and looking at going, there's all these people working on this site, and you think, this is amazing. I love this. You know, this is, I play a little small part of a line on a drawing in this big, box of things that happen. And that inspired further passion, which was about, I want to be involved in this thing. I want to be the guy that says, let's get that steel in, let's get this, let's get that, let's build this, let's do that, let's, look up, let's look down, let's look in the hole, let's fill that. And I just started to go back to the offices after being on site, helping them understand the drawings. And I thought, I want to build. I want to build. I want to make something. So then I got stuck into doing a diploma in building and went to a college and started courses part time while I was drawing. And through that process, I started following that inner need to learn how to build, and was lucky enough to find a few jobs where I worked with a steel manufacturer, who then I started learning little bits of pieces about steel and drawing the detail, and then I learned more about, obviously, as I learned more about building, I started to get jobs where I could, work with a quantity surveyor, and then I worked with a builder, and then I had another larger builder take me on when I finished my course, and from there I worked in a construction company, probably for about 5, 6 years, and then from that, obviously, as humans, we want to better ourselves, we want to do more. So from actual construction and building, I thought, you know what, I want to manage. I want to have a big team. I want to have, you know, control over things, and be able to, you know, say that, I had insight, and um, I was actually able to start and finish a project, not only just on paper, but on paper, understand it, order it, build it, finish it, and hand it over. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to university and do, I started doing a master's in business administration. And I thought, this is what's going to give me the brain capacity, the learning to be able to manage the whole process, the money side of things, everything from start to finish. So I did that, and I went on that journey, and that journey took me to working with developers directly, and being able to undertake the project management side of things with them. So I would be the guy that would employ the builder, employ the consultants, employ and manage the whole process with government authorities, going to meetings, getting the plans approved, getting the plans built, designed and then built, and getting to the point where I was actually on a site from the day that it was just dirt and grass, to being able to finish a building and hand the keys over to the people that have bought the units and go, here's your apartment. Good luck. If there's anything you need, give us a call. Start to finish. And that's where it all became. And till today, I sit here and actually enjoy that whole process from start to finish, even though it's an incredible timeline, and in some cases it's 2 years, some cases it's 3 years. Um, I've been on projects that have taken 7 years, and we've been involved in a larger state, and it's so satisfying. It's been amazing. So that's that's the journey of getting here.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. When you described that day of being on the first times of being out on the job site after drawing, and I can relate. I mentioned I also love construction and very passionate about it. And yeah, the first time you get out there on a job site and like it does. I don't know if it does it. I don't know if it happens to everybody, but it's just one of those things that I just think it's so cool to, as you described at the end there, to take a piece of dirt and end up with a building. You're building large scale projects, but at the end of the day, someone owns that project. Someone's very likely going to live or work there. Like, you have those components, and so it's just it is a really kind of a hard to describe feeling, unless you've done it, unless you've been in that position. And so as you were talking about it, I completely understand where that passion comes from. So I love it. You, I mean, you've done sort of all the parts in construction. It seems, from being an architect and doing the drawings all the way to fully managing these large scale projects. Um, I do. We talked a little bit about this before we hit record, but I do think it might be worth mentioning to people kind of maybe the difference between you say you're a project manager versus like the general contractor, or how do you view that distinction so that people sort of understand? I think probably most people understand the architect designs, draws the project, but then someone's got to take that vision, as you said, it comes in on these giant pieces of paper. Now it's more on computers, but it comes on these giant plans, and then you've got to turn it into an existing structure out in the world. So I would love it if you would maybe give us your take on kind of the difference in your role versus like a what people might think of as a general contractor, which I sometimes people don't even understand what exactly that role is. But please give me your perspective.
Are you planning a remodel or construction project? Overwhelmed by the process? Over budget? Extended timelines? Strained relationships? We are all too familiar. At Lark Construction Services, we help homeowners and business owners take control of their construction journey, from reviewing bids and contracts to catching red flags before they become costly mistakes. Our Clarity Audit is a one-on-one expert review of your plans, estimates, or current progress, giving you the peace of mind and a defined action plan to move forward with confidence. Don't let confusion lead to costly errors. Visit larkconstruction.com and schedule your free call today. Lark Construction Services, saving you time, money, and stress.
It's our job has so many moving parts, and it is I liken it to a game of chess. You're playing on a board, and all the pieces on the chessboard, and you've got to control. You've got to move the pawn. You've got to move the knight at the right time. You've got to move the bishop at the right time. You've got to move, protect your queen, protect your, move the king. All of those plays are similar to a development where you've got to know the right time in the market. Yep, okay, there's a block of land. You've got to go to the council, the authority. How do you do that? How do you prepare that? How do you get the architect coming in? When does he draw it up? What does he draw up? You know, what is he drawing? You have a client that says, "I want to make money." Great, everyone wants to make money. Well, we're going to make a block of units here. Great. In this area, it's either a very high luxury area or a low socio-economic area or somewhere in the middle. You've got to work out, and you do the due diligence with the client, and you work out what you're going to build. Once you've decided on what you're going to build and what the market, you do a lot of market research, you've got to work with them and say, okay, well, it's not going to be, 15 or 300 three-bedroom apartments or condos, as you call it. We're going to do 20% of one beds, 30% of two beds, 5% of three beds. What does the market hold? So you've got to work on that and work out the feasibility of that project. So there's the feasibility, the financials, making it work on paper, the calculation, so you can make money and provide what this block of dirt will be able to achieve. From that, then you take it and go to council. So you've got to get all of the consultants. We ring everyone from the architect to the structural engineer, to the electrical engineer, to the mechanical engineer, to the hydraulic engineer. All these, usually there's about 15, 16 different consultants that go into putting a design together to go to council, go to the authorities, get it approved, come back. The next stage is get it approved to start construction. So that process, it's another step that could take 4 months, 5 months. Once you've done that, then we go and get a builder. Go, right, who do we know that's a good builder? Okay, I don't want to go to 50 people. I want to go to 5. Then you do your due diligence about, I've got to get 5 builders that are same quality, same style, same type of guys, and I want them to tender this project. So you prepare all these documents. It's not just, here's a block of drawings, go for it. That set of documents could be, and on jobs where we've done 128 units at a value of $100 million, that set of documents could be 1,500 pages of drawings, documents, specifications, authority requirements. So we put all that together. We document it. We basically, we're baking. We've got to have the recipe, the right recipe, understand the ingredients and what is required to bake that cake. So that's another analogy that I put together and say, okay, well, if you want the cake, you got to know what the ingredients are, what the recipe is, put that together. So we put that together. We go out to the builders and we go, right, this is how you're going to tender. And in that time frame of about 4 to 6 weeks, they're asking a lot of questions. So you're back and forth for 6 weeks. What about this? What about that? What about, is this color and that kind? So we have to answer all those questions, go back to all the consultants. We, join the dots everywhere. We put it all together and go, right, here's your answer. Give us a price. Come back when you get that price. The insurmountable different conditions and exclusions and inclusions and things. And then you've got to sit there and, it's like a music mixer. You got to put it all together and then get it down to a line and say, now we're all playing on the same playing field, apples for apples. Here's the best price. Here's the best deal. Here's the best quality. Mr. Developer, my dear client, this is what we recommend for you. Go for this guy with this price, and this is what you're going to do. As soon as we start that process and we've ticked that off and we sign a contract, that contract could take 6 weeks to put together, And in Australia, we're very litigious. So we have to really dot our I's, cross our T's. Once we sign that contract, it's almost like a race, the horse race. Go, off you're running, and then the builder's off. You've got 20 months to build this thing. And in that 20 months, anything can happen. They start digging, we find contamination, we find this. Obviously, you do your due diligence, and there's a lot of homework that goes into making sure everything is contained. So a good project is one that starts and finishes with very minimal variations or changes, especially when there's, the client doesn't make any changes and we've done all our due diligence. Then we've been on projects where there's been absolutely no variations, no cost differences other than what has been expected, and you've put provisional costs for that. So in that process of that, let's say the 2 years, we're there overseeing the builder, making sure he does his job, doing all the inspections, doing all the quality, checking back, and every month reporting back to the client and being that go-between between the builder and the developer, and in some instances with the real estate agent. Because while that process is going through, they've got to start, selling. As they start selling these apartments, the real estate agents come in, they want to change the color, they want to do this, they want to do that. So all of these changes over 2 years, you're managing that process. Manage expectation, manage the delivery, manage the quality, and at the end of the day, we have compliance. So as I said, very litigious, but also very compliance driven. So there is an insurmountable list of compliances, which we have to make sure with all our consultants, all the regulatory authorities, make sure all the ticks and balances are done, signed off, checked, submitted, approval, and at the end we have this thing called occupancy certificate. It's almost like the god of building. You get that gold, tick. That's like the big gold bar at the end. You get that. Now I can relax. Right, we're ready for practical completion, which is going to hand over this job, and the builder's ready to hand over. He's like, hey, I've cleaned, dusted it down, everything's ready. Here's the keys. And then we bring in, that's the first part. Yay, the builder's finished. And then we've got to manage that process to hand everything over. And then there's documents and drawings and files. And how does this building come back into this nice little box or this USB that you can plug into a computer, and it brings up the whole building and all the documents so that it can be maintained for the rest of the life of that building. So not only are you building something or you're working on something that has a point of completion, but from that point onwards, how does someone manage that building so it stays maintained, the air condition works, the lighting works, the pumps in the ground work. So we've got to make sure that there's enough information for someone to manage that for the next 20 or 30 years. So the life of that project is not just, start and finish. It will continue on. So that's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit, a small piece. No, I mean, it is. I think most people outside of the building industry don't realize kind of all those components that go through it, like you just said. That there's you drive down the street, you might see someone building an apartment complex or something like that, or whatever whatever construction project it might be, and you see guys out there building and framers and steel workers and electricians, plumbers, whatever. You see all those people out there working, but you don't know. A lot of people don't know really all of the rest of just the steps to be able to get to the point of putting the builder on site. Like that's almost the easy part in a way, in that you've got so much in place by the time the builders get on site, where it's like you really are. You use the the baking a cake analogy. Like you really, at that point, you have all the ingredients together and you are following the recipe of those plans. And so it's just kind of a really fascinating process. Like I said, and maybe not for everybody, but I just love it. And I think that you mentioned the occupancy certificate. We have that same thing here in the US. That's like, it really is that holy grail of finishing a project. You get you get your occupancy certificate. You can sort of check the box that you're done. Are you building mostly like apartment complexes, or what? Do you have a particular niche of project that you manage, or kind of anything?
We currently, the majority of our work is apartment building, um, but we also we're doing some luxury homes for some clients as well, um, and they're quite tricky. Um, we also do commercial fit outs. We've done office fit outs as well. We're doing land subdivisions, which is obviously interesting in terms of, that's really, we come in and we slice up the cake for someone to start putting the homes on. So obviously that's of interest because there's a lot more infrastructure and civil works required for that. We're bringing in all the mains, the power, the sewer, the stormwater, the water, the communications. So there's a lot that goes in that as well. So we like and we enjoy doing that. We're starting to do a lot more of that at the moment. Um, we've also done some charity work where we've fitted out kitchens and um, uh, added floors where for charities. Others, sorry, one of them in particular who provides food for the poor. So we've been involved with them in getting grants and working with them and doing helping them fit out their buildings to be able to provide for others. We've also done for a client a group home, a 40-bed group home for a drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre, where we've had the pleasure of, putting in a swimming pool, a gym, all the rooms, all the amenities, etc. So, like a home project, but it's on a much bigger scale. Um, so yeah, we've done, and we've also done remediation work where we come in and we help get builders and specialists in fixing up, apartment buildings or buildings that need, rectification work. So we've done that sort of thing as well. And some commercial, I think I mentioned the office fit out. We also do some ancillary works um, in commercial buildings as well, small and large. Fire upgrades. Sometimes a building that needs to change, if from maybe a commercial into a residential. There's a lot of upgrades and there's a lot of changeover. So that changeover, we can manage that as well. So we've been very fortunate and grateful to be able to have our hands in a lot of different types of building work and styles of work that we've picked up a fair bit of knowledge in our understanding. But also, we work with some really good consultants and really good clients that are able to trust us and empower us to not only learn about what they want, but to find a way of giving them the best outcome as well.
Yeah, no, that's I, I think that that role, I mean, the project manager role is so important in just putting everything together, like you talked about it, and kind of you have to have, and I feel like your background really prepared you well for that because you've been involved at kind of almost all the different levels, and so it allows you to really navigate it quite well. Do you have? I don't know if Australia. You said it's litigious. I don't. One of the big challenges in building in the U.S. is always going to be like the permitting processes and dealing with the city or the county or whoever, whatever jurisdiction over that. Do you have a similar, I don't know, roadblocks? Do you encounter similar roadblocks? Yeah.
One of the biggest roadblocks right now, and we talk about it in all of the industry bodies and the associations that we have in Australia. Um, we, Government intervention is a massive problem. We talk about it all the time. Housing. We're trying to get more housing. The 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 walls and the shutters that go up because of the layers. I mean, every year there's more layers of compliance, more layers of government intervention. Which you talk to a builder or developer 30 years ago, or they talk about 30 years ago as opposed to today. It's the amount of compliances are incredible, and they'll all substantiate themselves. And I talk about government in that we needed it to make sure that there's safety, no one's getting ripped off in terms of they're getting what they pay for and the quality, and making sure that the city is able to control what you build and how you build and the quality of what you build. We get all that, but it is so high in this country. We have people that come from China, Japan, even America, and they go, "How do you build? How do you do this?" The timelines for compliance to get an approval sometimes could be 2 years. 2 years of waiting while you have a block of land that you've just paid for and you're paying interest on for 2 years and you get nothing for. How do you put that into a feasibility model and go, "Oh, I just have to pay the interest on that"? How do you do that? So it's really hard.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I don't certainly don't know the right answer. I think but it makes it very challenging because we have housing shortages. We certainly have them in the US. I would assume you have them in Australia as well. We have housing shortages. People want to build housing. I get it. Like we builders want to make money and should, like people running a business, you want to make some money. I get it that the cities and the municipalities want to make sure that the end user is safe and taken care of, but it there's got to be some, like, some middle ground, some way to have, I don't know, a better process. It's interesting because I don't I lived in Houston for a few years, Houston, Texas, and they actually have the best building system as far as managing permits and things like that I've ever seen anywhere. And I mean, granted, I haven't built in every state or country or whatever, but they put the infrastructure in place to make it about as reasonable of a process as it can be. And they've got a dedicated building for it. A lot of it is they upgraded all of their like technology so that you can do almost all of it online. It's such a better process there. And I don't, maybe other places have adopted, but it would be really great to see some of these municipalities, especially, I mean, I live in Los Angeles now. Like, it's a big enough city, you could just do what Houston did and make it a lot easier for people to build and help provide housing. And so I sometimes, it sometimes feels like it's a little bit on purpose in the sense that they're making it difficult just to be. I don't know why, but it does sometimes seem like it doesn't have to be that way. So I guess I'm not happy to hear that you have to deal with the same thing there. I just wondered how that was for you. Because, especially with these, even in the best of conditions, when you're building the large scale projects that you're doing, you're talking about years in even if everything goes, well and smoothly and as quickly as possible. Are you generally working on like multiple projects at a time? How do you kind of structure that, I guess? Because I'm sure there are different points within the process that maybe require slightly more, slightly less of active attention or time spent on managing a project. How do you arrange that as you work through multiple projects?
A good point. So we in what we do, the beginning of the job and the end of the job are the most time consuming in terms of resourcing input, what's required, because there's so much to do up front and there's so much to do at the end when everything's requiring compliance and finishing off and checking and handing over. So we've got projects at different levels of that. So we've got some projects starting, we've got some projects finishing, we've got some projects in the middle. It's great if you can have that flow of work where it's in different stages, because then you can focus on some over here for today, then do the general inspections and walk around here, and then somewhere, right, we've just got to, everyone, we need to focus on this, or get some more people to come in and help us finish off this project. So the best way I can describe it is like a wavelength. If you can be on every part of that wavelength, the worst thing that you could do is just be starting at the beginning or just be at the end, because they're the most energy, time consuming, resource driven periods of a project. In the middle, it's great because things are just flowing. It's like a train. So just it's moving along. But the start of that engine and the slowing down of that engine takes a lot of time, resource, etc. So yeah, we're sort of in the middle of having projects at different stages. So it's a good place to be for us. It's a good place to be.
And I would imagine, I'm sure you have teams that work with you in different roles and things like that. So it's about I guess balancing. But I again, back to that, the challenges faced with compliance and all of that, you may have you may not always be able to control the timeline as well as you would like, because as you mentioned, if you're waiting 2 years for some plans to be approved or something like that, then that's going to throw off your timing. But that's exactly the reason to have someone like yourself that's going to come in and sort of take ownership of conducting that orchestra of the build in keeping everything moving in the right direction. So I think it's fascinating to me. Like I said, I love the space. Well, Michael, I want to switch gears. I want to ask you a question I ask every guest, and that is based on the name of the show being Know Your Why. So what is your why? What you've done? I'm virtually done it all in the building and construction world. Very fascinating to me. What keeps you motivated and moving forward?
What it was really that I wanted to prove to my family that I was more than just a failure, let's call it. I didn't do well at my high school. Actually, that was one of the things, that I didn't get in the Air Force, didn't do well at high school. It seemed like I wasn't going anywhere. So I had to change that and become somebody, become something of substance, become, a success story within my own family. So that's why I pushed myself. And each time I pushed myself to do something, that gave me the next level of hope to be something else, or to take it from, joined the army, did some of that, went to college, did some of that, became builder, did that. Then I thought, got to be a project manager. Let's do project management. Let's do that. So then I had kids, and when I had a family, it was all about making sure, I'd really, I want to make sure my kids, my home, have a great home. So it was continue that, but also in the other side of things, it was, I also want to still have this mindset. I want to make something of myself. I'm not an egotistic person, but I like to drive myself to be the best that I can be. So that's what sort of got me there. And at this moment, if you said, what's your why? My kids, I've got 2 of my 3 kids in the business, and they joined. I've never asked them to join, but they came to me, and my son's been with me now for probably about 10 years, just over 10 years. And my daughter's been with me for about 3 years. And both of them studied, jumped into the business. So my why now is to be able to build the business even bigger and have them run it. So that's my why right now.
That's fantastic. We have a lot in common. That is, my kids are younger, but I definitely want them. If they want, I want to leave them something, and I don't mean leave them a trust fund or so. I want to leave them something that we've, kind of built together, and that they can do even better, after I'm gone. So that's a fantastic, and I think you achieved the first why of just making something of yourself, so that now you're setting up for the future. So that's amazing. Michael, when people hear this and they want to connect with you, what's the best place for them to reach out?
Oh, look, email. So my email, which is michael@japm.com.au. That's the easiest and best. My email's on my phone, everywhere. You can always get me. And, but yeah, thank you.
Well, we'll put that in the show notes so people can find you. I'm sure people will be inspired by your story. Thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for sharing all this with me. As I said, this is a space that's near and dear to me, both the construction world and also getting our children into be a part of the legacy that you're doing. So thank you for sharing with me, and thank you for taking the time out. I really do appreciate it. It's great to chat.
Thank you, Jason. I really enjoyed this. Very grateful to be with you and to have this space to talk. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Folks listening, make sure you connect with Michael, and please like, rate, and review the show so we can continue to get more great guests. As always, thank you so much for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?